Hey guys, welcome to the TCB class with me, Tabitha of Craving Yellow. I am so happy to be back here again. So this particular class is actually inspired by one of the conversations that we had a few weeks ago. If you remember well, we talked about myths that we are busting about our hair growth. And one of the funny ones that you guys came up with is that if you wear a protective style for long, it actually helps to grow your hair. So somebody was talking about wearing a protective style for like 6 months. Wow, guys, so remember what I said earlier. A myth always has an aspect of truth in it, but overall it's pretty flawed. So in this class, we're going to be understanding what exactly is a protective style, and then what are some of the do's and don'ts of protective styling. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So you probably are wearing a protective style right now, or you've just removed one, because protective styles are anything from braids, cornrows, even hats, turbans, wigs, etc., etc. So protective styling is very crucial for your hair growth. Why? Because your hair needs a break. Remember, one of the things that I've been saying over time is that the less you manipulate your hair, the better it is for your hair growth. Why? Somehow our African strands, they don't like to be bothered. Think of people who grow dreadlocks. Their locks are just growing straight out of their head. They can't even grow down to the floor, right? There's something about manipulating the hair that honestly our African strands, it doesn't really like, our hair doesn't really like to be manipulated. So a protective style basically gives your hair a break so that it can grow, it can flourish, and it also means that you're not doing, styles and, techniques that are breaking it, stretching it, stressing it, pulling on it, and therefore then you can maintain the integrity of your hair strand. So typically, protective styles they're usually about two types. So there's partial protective styling, and then there's complete protective styling. Now, don't tell me protective styling is only for people with long hair. Believe you me, you can even have a teeny weeny afro and you can still protective style. So the semi-protective styles are things like weaves with leave out, or even braids, where your hair is partially intact, but if somebody was to touch it, like it's still somehow exposed to the elements. And then we have full protective styling, which is when your hair is possibly like under a wig, under a turban, under a hat, whereby it is not exposed to any elements in any shape or form. It is completely covered. In other words, it is actually completely protected. Are you seeing what we're doing here with the word? Protective styling is about protecting your strands. Okay, so now that we have that aside, one of the things we need to discuss is good and bad habits of protective styling. So installing braids for 6 months is good in that you're not manipulating your hair a lot, but it is not healthy because you're compromising the strands or the health of your strands. You're not getting enough moisture in your strands. You're straining your hair with the weight of the braids for a long period of time, right? So there are do's and don'ts. There are things that you should be doing to keep your protective style good for you, and there may be things that you are doing that are actually detrimental to the whole process of maintaining your healthy hair. So let's start with the don'ts, and then we will conclude with the do's. So the first don't I want us to talk about is, guys, when you're installing your protective style, always make sure that it is not tagging on your hair, right? We've seen these horror images of women who have gone to the salon and they have, their braids are so tight. You can see the hair is like, you're like, oh girl, I can give you a Panadol. It looks painful to the touch. Like literally some people even have sores. Now, if your hair is being installed in a protective style, you are installing a protective style, and you end up with sores, my friend, you know what you're doing? Damage right to the scalp, which could include like literally plucking out hair follicles from the root, such that hair never grows from that point of your head again. Imagine. So you can end up with balding, but also you can really weaken the strands on your hair, and this can lead to excessive thinning. People tend to think about thinning around the edges, but believe you me, you can have thinning even on other parts of your scalp if you install styles that are too tight. So the first thing to remember is install a style. Yes, I know you want it to last forever. You want it to last, the bulk of your cash. I know you've paid money for this style, but it needs to be in tight enough, but in a way that doesn't cause friction or excess tension on your strands, especially your hair follicles. The second don't of protective styling is don't wear it forever and ever always give your protective style a time frame. So typically I like to say wear your protective style for about 3 weeks, give your hair a break of a week, and then install a protective style again. Remember, your scalp needs to breathe. Sometimes maybe you've been doing weaves back to back to back to back. I know you want to see the length, I know you want to keep your strands protected, but that can lead to other issues. Guys, I will not lie, I have met somebody who literally had mold growing on her tracks in the name of protective styling. So guys, we need to be careful in terms of the length of time we keep our protective styles installed, because as for my friend who had the mold growing on her scalp, it can again lead to other issues. If you're having mold, build-up, bacteria, etc. growing, that again compromises the health of your hair. So remember, keep it about 3 weeks and then take a break and then reinstall the protective style. Now I know you might be saying, Tabitha, am I going to put in my micro braids and then uninstall them and reinstall after 3 weeks? Well, I would say that leads me to my third don't, okay? So I know, look, I did it myself, people. I did it myself. There's a time in my life I was putting those tiny braids. Those ones, they remove like literally 3 strands of hair and attach braid, and so I had like 1 million little strands of braids on my head. Guys, I would say install something like knotless braids. Install, in Kenya we call them matutas. Do 2-strand twists, for example. Do cornrows, do lines with braids. Those type of styles, number one, they don't tug on your hair a lot. They're not as stressful as those micro braids we used to do. And number two, you can actually, in 3 weeks time, they're kind of looking, especially if you're washing them every week, they're starting to look a bit, so you can actually take them out, give your hair a break and install. So also, I mean, this leads me to the point that you need to be careful that your protective style is not something that is cutting your hair, okay, like the micro braids. So if you really do want to wear micro braids, why not get them in the form of a wig, right? Because nowadays, I mean, go anywhere in town, we have these wigs that are pre-made. You can purchase them and you can have your tiny little micro braids on a wig and you can rock that and you're good to go, okay? So those are 3 don'ts. I know there are many more. I would love for you to leave me some comments down below and let me know what are your don'ts for your protective styling. But let's get into the do's, okay? So guys, let's get into the do's of protective styling. The first do is make sure the most fragile parts of your hair are protected. And what do I mean by this? The ends of your hair. Remember what I mentioned in another class previously? The ends of your hair are the oldest. Imagine this strand that is here right now, this length. It has walked with me since it was here. It has come down my face and it's now on this end. So you can imagine it has weathered the storms of life with me. So it is very fragile, it is very old. So when I'm protective styling, I always want to make sure that the ends of my hair are always the ones which are tucked in, are always the ones which have the least tension and the least stress. Okay, point number 2 is maintain your hair. Please do maintain your hair when you're protective styling. Some people think, okay, now I put in my braids, I put in my weave, I'm wearing a wig, I'm just going to leave my hair dry, I'm never going to deep condition my hair, no moisture, I'm never going to wash my hair. Where? Guys, you remember what I talked about in the beginning about myths? Somebody actually said that when they were in high school, they used to just leave their hair for 3 months without washing. Now guys, you cannot be in a protective style and then your hair is dry, you have dandruff, you have build-up, you have bacterial growth, mold is growing. You cannot protective style and you don't maintain the protective style. So that's crucial. And when I talk about maintaining a protective style, I mean ensuring you're keeping up with a regimen of some kind. Now, you don't have to have the same regimen as you do when your hair is open, but please make sure you're cleansing. Please make sure you're applying some sort of conditioner, whether it's a leave-in conditioner or even when you're washing your hair, just applying some conditioner to the strands. And then lastly, make sure that you are sealing in the moisture with some oil, okay? You don't have to lather a lot of pomade and whatnot on your scalp. Just take some oil on your fingertips. You can use, for example, TCB Naturals coconut oil. Just put some on your fingertips and massage into your scalp. Okay, so you need to make sure you're maintaining at least a cleanse, at least a condition, and then once your hair is a bit moist, there's water in your strands, seal in that water with a bit of an oil. And then the third do that you need to do is you need to assess the impact of the protective style on the health and length of your hair. Remember, there's no point copying somebody else's protective style. What works for one person might not work for you. So you need to make sure that you are trying different things until you find a style that suits you, suits your routine, suits your budget, and actually delivers results. Results in the form of healthy, moisturized, length retained hair, okay? So always make sure you're thinking through, maybe let me try braids this one time, let me try a weave, let me try this other style until you find what actually works best for you. So guys, this is just a simple introduction to protective styling. This is such a wide topic. We can take each of these segments and go a lot deeper, and we will over time. So I'd love for you to stay involved, stay tuned. As you guys know, I always host an IG live after I host the class. So be sure to join me there, because we're probably going to continue this conversation, and I want to hear about your experiences with protective styling. As usual, if there's a question I've not answered in this class, leave it for me down below in the comment section. I always make time to respond to your inquiries. If there's something a bit more private, you want a one-on-one, send me a DM. I'm always happy to answer your specific questions, and of course to help you along your hair journey. Remember, with TCB Naturals, we're here to give you hair that lets you shine. I want you to shine in all spheres of life, and believe in me, when you have a healthy crown of hair and you're feeling confident, there is nothing in life that can stop you. So let me stop this video here. I'll catch you guys very soon, but between now and then, I am sending you so much love and sunshine.